Hello everyone, this is Sweet Lou Jeff Luzatter coming to you from Keystone at the Crossing at Sheridan in for the 2020 Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association Red Carpet Show. And our first inductee is Tony Uggen from Blackford High School and also from Northfield. Tony, I really appreciate you being here.
Appreciate being here.
Just looking over currently at Blackford, we'll get to we'll talk about the Bruins in a few minutes, but let's talk about Northfield High School. 20 years head coach there.
Had quite the run there. I started there and teaching in 91, 92, and after a couple years as a JV coach under Craig Weingartner, he fortunately allowed me to take over that program, and I was lucky at the time because Northfield was pretty good. I think he won 57 games in his last 2 years there, and turned the program over to me with some talent, and certainly made the beginning of my career a lot better than what it could have been if he'd hung on a couple more years. But that made it 44 wins the first 2 years and got me off to a good start, and I'm forever thankful that he did that because a lot of guys would have hung around, for those extra 40, 50 wins. And he won 361 himself, so he could have got the 400 if he'd hung around, but he let me take over, and for that I'm certainly grateful.
466 wins and 277 losses currently. Of course, you're currently the baseball coach at Blackford High School. And any experiences that kind of stand out a little bit? Obviously, you talked about the character of some of your kids in your championships in 01, 06, 12, and 13. But anything that stand out in those 20 years at Northfield?
I was just really fortunate to coach a lot of great kids who bought into what we were trying to do, and it took a while to get us established. The first 6 years, we didn't even win a sectional. We were in Huntington North sectional at the time. It was one class there, and it was pretty difficult to get out of there. And in fact, probably one of my best teams ever was the first team I had, and they beat us, I think, 3-1 in the sectional final that year. So kind of cruised along. Then we got into class ball, and we were fortunate that happened, I think, in 98. And then I had a good group of freshmen that year, and fortunately they developed really well for me. And despite having not won a sectional, I thought, and I didn't know as a young coach, but I thought this group's pretty talented. We might be able to do some good stuff before they graduate. And they went 17-10 as sophomores and juniors, and then that senior year we went on and won the state that year. So to go from no sectionals to a state championship was pretty special. And then about that same time, early 2000, things kind of tended to roll. We got things clicking, had a big influx of talent. Of course, people were excited at the state championship. We had about a 12-year run where we won a lot of games. And you mentioned the 2016, they got beat in the Final Four by Hammond Knoll. But I think what I'm most proud of that group is that they were talented, but not a hugely talented group. And I felt like of all the teams I coached, that was the one team that I really thought exceeded my expectations. I mean, they were great kids, fun to work with, and it was just a blast coaching those kids. And then fortunately, we come around and Ryan Kiefaber came along, and I call him a strike machine because it didn't take many pitches for him to go out and win ball games. I can remember a couple games that only lasted about 75 minutes, and those are the kind of ones you like. Go out, get it done, and go home. And he won 48 games over his career and got us back to state finals twice. In 12 and 13, we were fortunate to win the first one. Not so fortunate next year. Brian Keister's team beat us, but that game was also neat because even though we didn't win it, we had lost our first baseman after the semi-state. He took a position in the United States Army, and there was only 2 of those positions available. And they wouldn't let him out of it. It was either you go now or you sit out a year. And I'm not taking any away from what South Spencer did. They deserved to win that game. But not having our 4th best hitter in first base when I had to play a freshman in center field who was batting $140, and I had moved my center fielder to first base, who had never played first base in his entire career, and I was playing first base at Victory Field. But the neat thing was that it was a great life lesson for the kids. Sometimes things don't go the way you want, but you just go out and do the best you can and say, hey, that happens sometimes. And no fault of what the kids did the best we could, just came up a little bit short, and then I ended up going to Blackford.
And of course, you're athletic director as well as baseball coach. Of course, back in my playing days, Blackford was,
Yeah, Blackford was pretty good in the 70s, and I graduated there in 83, and early through the 80s, Blackford. And there's been some pretty good teams since, but there was 1,200 kids at Blackford in 1970. When I graduated, there was about 1,000. I think we're down to just under 500 now. And obviously we're one of the smallest counties anyway geographically, but we're doing the best we can to get things turned around again. It's been a challenge, I know, and I'll bring this up in my speech later, and I think a lot of people are curious as to why would you leave a good thing to go to Blackford, because they didn't have a great reputation at the time across the board. And not that they weren't bad kids or anything. It was just things were tough. And frankly, I got tired of hearing about it. I mean, I went to school there. I shared with them when I came back. I said, it's hard to believe, but the superintendent in my prior school when I left said, they're not very good. I don't want to say losers, but she said they were losers, which surprised me and basically kicked me out the door and sent me that direction. And then when I was down at the state finals getting my runner-up medal, the person who gave me the medal actually said, "You're going to Blackford?" And I was kind of like, yeah, that's what we're trying. And it was going to be a tough situation. I went in there, and the first year wasn't too bad. We ended an 8-year losing streak for the baseball program. And then the next 2 years were brutal, and it really crossed the board. And I knew that coming in. A lot of people told me Blackford's going to be the challenge of your life, and several told me not to do it. Just stay where you're at. You're doing fine. In fact, one person I can remember, you're going to blow your Hall of Fame career if you come to Blackford. And these are for people I know in Hartford City. Right. But I needed something different. What else can you do? So let's go try and see if we can do it. And part of it was a challenge for me too, personally, because am I a good coach, or is it because I was in the right place and the right time? Now, 20 years is a long time, but it was the right place, the right time, and all that success happened. How much it was me. I remember a parent asked me when we won tell me after we won the second championship, his son was on the first team. He said, "You know what? That first one, I thought, he just had a good team. But you know what? You won the second one, so you must be pretty good." And I thought, well, that's why we're into it. You go out and you do the best you can. Like I said, I hope I've had a positive effect on the kids. I'm hoping I'm teaching life lessons to the kids. I want them to be, I always tell them, be a class act, represent yourself, your family, your school, and community with pride in everything you do. I hope I've done that. That's more important than any win or loss we've ever done. I know we are based, they look at us at how many games we win. We're here because we won a lot of games for the most part, but I hope there's more to it than just showing kids how to play baseball. It's bigger than that.
Well, you talk about Blackford now, we're shifting to a different sport, but things are going pretty well there, at least on the basketball side. Let's talk. I know they had a losing streak too, but what's this Jerry Hoover syndrome thing? What's this been like?
Well, to give you perspective, when I came that second, third year at Blackford, I went 4-23 and 8-21. And I'm used to winning 21, 22 games in a year for the last 10 years. That was tough. And I got to credit my wife, because more than a few times I went home banging my head, what in the world was I thinking? And she said, you wanted a challenge. So the basketball team lost 71 out of 72. We lost 61 in a row at one time. And I think we were then 10 or 11 of breaking the all-time record. Football was 4-26 over those 3 years, and there were a couple sports doing pretty well. Girls soccer program was pretty good, but they had a lot of success in anything. And then I got a phone call from Jerry Hoover. I didn't know who Jerry Hoover was. I already had in mind my new basketball coach. We'd done all the interviews, and he called me and said, "Hey, I'm an old man. I just want you to hear me out. If you just talk to me, I've got a package deal I want to sell you." I'm like, whatever. I said, "I've already hired a coach." He goes, "Just hear me out." I said, 9 o'clock tomorrow. I'm like, whatever. 9 o'clock the next day, and sure enough, he strolls in, 82 years old, walks in, 6'6", and it's like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And he says, here's what I want to do. I like turning programs around. I haven't coached for a couple of years. I coached Courtney Jennings at Logansport. I just want to build one more program. And it's funny because I asked him, like, why Blackford? And he said, you're the worst program in the state of Indiana. And he probably wasn't too far off. And again, great kids. We just weren't winning a lot of games. So we brought him in, and he said, I got a kid who's a fifth cousin who's a very good basketball player by the name of Luke Brown, and shared his stuff. And then I said, give me a minute. I called the principal and I said, get down here now, because I want you to hear this. So he came down, tell him what you told me, shares the same thing. And the principal's like, can you step out for a second? And he goes, we got to hire this guy. I said, we don't know anything about Jerry Hoover. We don't know anything about Luke Brown. So we Googled Luke Brown, and he was, in 8th grade at the time, and it's like, oh my, this kid's got some skills. And so it was a deal. The grandkids, his son Don was going to be an assistant, and then his grandkids were coming up. One was a senior. I think one was a freshman, one was in 7th grade, so they came with him. Then Luke came, and everything just flipped. And what's really neat, and the thing I want to credit more than anything in the changes that occurred in the basketball program, is the fact that the kids who went through what they did, the losing constantly, they're all seniors now. It's like they went from this to this, and it was the instant change in their approach to sports and the way they practice and their mindset and everything. And they went from we can't beat anybody to, hey, we can do this. Luke's a good player, but he's got to have help. He can't beat people by himself, but he sure does try. But the kid's just ultra talented, but all the kids have rised up, and it's kind of affecting some of the other sports. And then from a baseball standpoint, we had those 2 bad years, or rough years, I should say. They weren't bad years. They were great kids trying as best they could, just weren't that successful. The next year we went 17-10, won sectional. First sectional Blackford's won in any sport since 2009. So that's kind of neat. And we still only won that one. Had a rough year the year before last. I thought we would do better. Had most of those kids back. And it was one of those years where nothing went right. And then last year we won 19 games. And we're fortunate we go back to 2A. We're going to compete a lot better at 2A than we would at 3. We just don't match up that well. And I've got most of my team back. So I'm pretty excited about where we're headed across the board really at Blackford.
Good deal. Well, the 196th inductee into the Hall of Fame, what's this mean to you?
Well, it's certainly humbling. I mean, I look at the names in there, and I'll probably crack a stupid joke about the fact I'm even being, I'm sure a lot of people will be like, who's this guy? It's a neat experience, and of course the class I'm in, I'm proud to be associated with these guys, and just have your name recognized among the guys who've done so much for baseball, especially in Indiana. It's truly an honor, and I just appreciate that the association members felt enough of me and felt me worthy enough to be a part of it. I hope I represent the Hall of Fame well.
Well, congratulations, Tony. Really appreciate your time. We look forward to your speech tonight.
I thank you very much. Appreciate what you do.
This is Tony Uggen, the 196 inductee will be